what is strong is our our willingness and our probably acceptance for new knowledge. For example, I have a statistics from FTF that almost 2,000 people joined the course in Russian language. Of course, it's for free, but I mean that the statistic is huge. And if it were $50, we would pay. And it's just the sanctions that doesn't let us do so. And I think that's our superpower, that we are looking for new information, new knowledge. We really like to learn something new.
I'm Ben Ryman, and this is Behaviour Speak. Today on Behaviour Speak, we're heading halfway around the world to learn about the development of behavior analysis in Russia and across Russian-speaking communities. My guest is Natalia Polikarpova, a behavior analyst, educator, supervisor, and one of the leading voices helping advance compassionate and trauma-informed ABA practice in the region. Natalia shares her journey from engineering into behavior analysis, explains how ABA has evolved since the early 2010s, discusses certification changes following the BACB's withdrawal from Russia, and highlights the growing adoption of practical functional assessment and skills-based treatment. This conversation offers a fascinating look at how behavior analysis develops within different cultural, educational, and healthcare systems, while highlighting the universal importance of compassion, parent involvement, and learner dignity. Please enjoy my conversation with Natalia Polikarpova. Natalia, welcome to Behaviour Speak.
Hi, Ben, and thank you for having me here. It's a great honor for me to be invited in this podcast. Thank you very much.
The honor is all mine. Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge that I am an uninvited settler-occupier of Sayayin on the traditional lands of the Tlam and Clayus, Homoko, Comox, and Sechelt First Nations, who have been stewards of this land since time immemorial. So, Natalia, it's great to have you here. Maybe we can start with your story. How did you find your way into behavior analysis?
Okay. I would start first with my first education, have master's in engineering. But on my last year of university, I was looking for some part-time job, and I started to work with a young boy with autism. It was back in 2010, and this is when I first heard about autism, and I first heard about ABA. And I found myself that ABA is very interesting, and I was looking for any piece of information, any smallest piece of information in Russian, and I was searching YouTube, internet to find how can I help him. And a couple of years later, I decided to change my professional pathway and become a therapist. And I also graduated one of the first verified course sequences in Russia, in Russian language. And I started my private practice, and also I worked as a therapist and a consultant in the ABA Center. And then I decided to become a supervisor, and I had to do a master's degree in pedagogical and psychological support for kids with autism and people with ASD. It was the first master's degree in Russia in this particular theme. And then I passed the BACB exam. It was available in Russia already. And I moved into the supervision to help grow the community of Russian-speaking supervisors and case managers and therapists. And I worked a lot with many people around the globe, because there are plenty of people who speak Russian. They need a Russian-speaking supervisor, or maybe they have a supervisor who speaks another language, but they need a supervisor in some particular for some particular problem. And also, me and my colleagues, we have started to learn PFA and SBT. I think it was 2018. And in 2019, we traveled to Israel for the conference, where we met Dr. Gregory Henley. And he suggested a group of us to start working with them, with the FTF agency, to become professionals in this therapy. So right now I am a level 7 consultant and a fellow in FTF Behavior Consulting Agency. I deliver Russian language PFA and SBT courses, design and provide supervision for families and for teams. And I also serve as educational director in a verified course sequence in Russian language, who works mainly with Eastern countries like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and so on. And I sit on the board for the professionals of ABA specialists in Russia. There is a professional unit that I am in. And last but not least, my dearest colleague and I, we do an educational project for, I think, for everybody. And we share of today's ABA, compassionate care, trauma-informed care. And I think we are building a very large and supportive community.
You do so much. That's amazing.
Thank you.
What was kind of happening in Russia around 2010 when you first entered the field? What were things like then?
ABA just started to develop in Russia, and it, of course, it developed by supervisors who lived in United States, Canada, Israel, and they traveled to Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and they started to teach and engage specialists, special education teachers, speech development teachers, and other professionals. And also a lot of parents were involved in this movement when ABA started to grow in our. I'm not speaking of Russia like a country, but the Russian-speaking communities and countries, because I think that's very important, because we still share a lot of things based on the language that we speak.
And do you remember your first experiences doing ABA?
Yes, it was with the first client that I have started to work with, and we were working for several years. I was introduced to his ABA program, and I was working with his supervisors who lived in New York, and they helped me to do it. I didn't know anything about verbal operands, ways to prompt. As far as I remember, I did everything like how I feel. And when I watched the video, this is how people in USA doing ABA. Oh, okay, I can imitate. I did it perfectly, and this has helped me a lot. And when I think I joined the first live training in 2013. It was a live training where were a lot of people, a lot of colleagues, my future colleagues, and I was so nervous. I thought that everybody's so smart and so confident, but it happened that I did very good, and I found myself to be very interested in what everybody's doing and how can we all help our clients, our kids, and this is I think that was a very important milestone. This first the first training that I joined. It wasn't online but live, and it impressed me a lot.
Yeah, and were there a lot of people there? Like how many people were
Yes.
involved at the time?
Yeah, I think it was around 50 people at the moment. But pretty much.
Yeah. And what were some of the biggest kind of misconceptions or barriers around ABA at the time, early on?
I think that one of the biggest misconceptions and it stays today, but not so. But it's not so easy to be on this point that ABA is the same as dog training or some animal training, that we use treats to develop some behavior, and that it's only about sitting by the desk and do this stuff with probably cards and pictures. Yeah, I think that's the biggest misconception, and I hope that it's not so it's not that important anymore.
So you became a BCBA in 2017. How significant was it that there was a course sequence and a BCBA exam available in Russian?
We at that moment in 2017, we had already few course sequences in Russian. Some of them were live, and you can join it live. Some of them were online, so people can choose, and I think that's very, very important. And also, I heard that some people took FIT courses. I think that's very popular, verified course sequence. But for some reason, there were no the barrier to do to have the exam was the language barrier. I think it was 2017 was the first year when the exam was available in Russian, but you have to travel some Western European country or some maybe some Eastern countries to visit the Pearson Center. And maybe a couple years later, it was already available in Russian Pearson centers. Right now, they're all closed, but that's a different story. And I think when I began my supervisor's career, there was a huge interest to to get supervision, to learn new stuff, to develop. And it was like a burst of number of fresh supervisors after that. I think I was the first one who took the exam in Russian language. And what we have right now, people can choose. Either we can have the IBAO examination. Maybe they can have their local exams, because there are some course sequence who have their own local certification, and some people are capable of that. And why not? And also there is a certification provided by professional boards in Russia and Kazakhstan. So I think that's very important that people can choose professional organization, professional community that they want to join. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, you did. You did. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now I have to think for a second. And so how were you affected when the BACB decided to stop certifying in Russia? How did things change for you?
I think that my first reaction was I was angry. Like, hey guys, we did so much things so that people in our countries could be certified, and what should we do right now? Like, we're lost. This picture with John Travolta looking for for a way to go with a piece of paper. Yeah, and this is what most of us felt at the moment. And I think very quickly, with the support of our colleagues from United States, Israel, Canada, and so on, we decided that we really need to develop our local professional board. And it was, I think it was a start when one of the course sequences decided to have their own certification for the people who took these courses. And I think the only exam that is not popular and I think almost no one knows about the CASP or that something like that.
The QABA?
QAB, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I think we started to figure out how we can, and as far as I remember, that IBAO board developed very quickly, and I think it's very important at this moment that really people can choose. And of course, it's looking from the parents' perspective. It may be hard to select who is a real professional and who is not, but maybe if looking for something good in that situation, they really need to dig deeper into the field, and they would have a chance to find real professionals for their families. And very good we have amazing centers, amazing supervisors, and amazing specialists in our huge country. We developed ethical code, and we already have 2 editions of the ethical code, and we're trying to be very up to date. And this ethical code touches the way how specialists can use AI in their work. And I think it's very important right now. And also we developed, we have our own examination. for supervisors, and we also do a lot of free activities for people who join our board, like psychological support, interventions, and also we're always open for people to help them to resolve their ethical issues, or maybe some other conflicts that happens sometimes.
And how many? So your local board, is that local to the city, to Russia?
To Russia.
Where does that cover? To Russia. And so how many members do you have?
I think we have a little bit over 100, but it's also because we have different opportunities for people right now. Somebody wants to join ABIO, somebody wants to join us, somebody wants to join the inner certification inside of their verified course, VCS. So and what is good, we need to know the requirements of each other, and it helps us grow.
And so why did you want to have a local board versus just stick with like the international board? Why did you want to have a separate local board?
This seemed to be very important for every country to have local board that can serve people inside this particular country based on the cultural background, local and legal issues, and also based on the educational traditions that we have in our countries.
A big part of your work is training and supervision. Can you paint a picture of what that looks like right now?
I became a supervisor in 2017, and I started to work online. It was my my dream to start to work only from home, and what I still do right now. So I right now I have a 4-year-old daughter, so I cannot work 8 to 10 hours as I did before. So mostly I supervise families and cases where we need to work with severe problem behavior, and I'm using PFA and SBT approach. And I also work with groups, which I really like because I believe that multiple exemplar training is a fantastic way to learn. So primarily I work with groups and teams of specialists, and also I provide consultations to the families and parents, not only to do the PFA and SBT, but maybe how to integrate universal protocol into their lives. Even maybe they have another consultant, and we can work together to create some more interesting and beneficial program.
You said you're supervising people in a lot of different countries. Can you tell me a little bit about what behavior analysis looks like in some of these other countries as it develops?
Know a little bit about developing of AB, and I think it happened at the same time when ABA started to develop in Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan. I think these countries are the leaders of how many specialists are coming from that countries. I think that it's mostly the same because we have the same cultural background came from Soviet Union, and it seems that like school structure is very very common in our countries, and so and I think it's very important to any local community to have bright leaders who can be the like a guiding star, and to help other people to unite and connect. So I think pretty much we have a lot of in common, and of course smaller countries they are just starting their way to have more developed ABA, but I think that it's just a matter of time, and it seems that for us it was very hard, maybe back in 2010 or 2013, when the resource class model were brought into our country, and there were first resource classes, and the model was imported as it is from United States to Russia. And right now we see that this model is not so easy to be integrated with our school system, with our cultural and educational backgrounds. And I believe that countries with Russian-speaking specialists who have fewer supervisors, fewer high specialists with high qualification, they can just take our experience to integrate on their local models.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. What does ABA service delivery look like right now in Russia and nearby countries? Where are services happening, and what kind of needs are you most often addressing?
Mm-hmm. That is very different from United States or Canada, because still in most of the cases parents are paying for the therapy, because we have a lot of specialists who work who are doing their private practice. We have a lot of centers, and right now we see that principles of ABA are integrated into the social centers, like government centers, special education schools, schools who provide services to kids with special needs. So, and also it was very popular thing to say that government is not supporting ABA in Russia. It's not, because we have a lot of supervisors who work inside schools. They're not hired by the school. They're not a part of the school staff, but they're invited, which is not bad. And we have governmental grants that like we have a huge presidential fund who are paying for some huge ABA educational programs. We have a lot of social initiative. We have nonprofit organization who are taking money from the presidential fund, and they deliver a lot of great services. So, and also there is something like a social payment for the family. They have their own grant. That's what they can spend on the therapy. They can select a center, or they can select a individual with a license, and they can have a service at this particular center. What I think, which is very different, that in our country, parents are very integrated into the therapy, and sorry, that's my dog coughing. And parents can select what they want from the therapy, what they want from education. Either they want to go to school, which school. They can, of course, it's not so easy sometimes. It's not, sometimes they also met a lot of barriers, but they can choose. Maybe they want to stay homeschooling. Maybe they want family education system. And I'm not saying that our system is perfect. Of course not. I think there is not a place on the earth with a perfect educational system. But what I personally like, that there is something that we can choose. And if parents sees that his child is not, there is nothing beneficial happens at the school, and parent understand that he can involve in his education better, and they can just take it from school and do the homeschooling, or a teacher from school will come to their home and work with the students. I think that's great thing. I believe that that's also my personal view, that a total inclusion is not so beneficial for everybody. I think it should be done much more with more care and more compassion, or not just like everybody have to be at a school. And I think we need to look deeper into it.
Yeah, it's nuanced is the word, I think. Yeah, and it really it needs to be individualized.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, you're saying the parents pay for ABA services, but they do get funding that they can use for whatever, and so it's not all out of pocket?
They can have this funding. Some parents, they choose not to have an official diagnosis, and probably they select to pay privately for the therapy. That also happens, and from another hand, other families decide to and they can do both. They can have their supervisor, and for their home-based therapy, and they can select going to regular school or some governmental center. Yes, we do train parents a lot, and I think that's a huge difference. Also, that families are trying to be very involved into the therapy, and also many parents become professionals in ABA. they become certified therapists. They become certified supervision, and I know a lot of people who did this. Like around me, my colleagues, and they become great professionals.
What kinds of needs are you most often addressing? Is it skills, feeding, sleep, behavior concerns, all of it?
All of it, but mostly just because I decided to focus myself on PFA and SBT. I do mostly with severe problem behavior, and also, of course, sleep problems, feeding problems, other skills.
Yeah, and what's been sort of the interests and feedback around PFA and SBT in Russia?
I think that's a very good feedback, because we already have a lot of schools where this model is integrated by some supervisors, and it doesn't mean that the school should be like in a big city. We know some smallest school, they're maybe very far from Moscow, and they do PFA and SBT inside their country school. And there is a huge interest, because the course was translated and it was free, and there is a huge interest in PFA and SBT right now, because unfortunately we have a lot of kids and young adults with severe problem behavior, and their families, they really want to help their children.
And you had an opportunity in I see in 2021 to write an article related to PFA and
Yes.
SBT. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, we've been invited to make an article in our peer-reviewed journal in Russia, and my colleague Natalia Polikarpova and I, we decided to do an article on the foundations of ISKA, and why this type of the functional analysis is preferred one, and I think this article appeared to be very helpful for a lot of people. But speaking of publications, I would say that one of the issues that we see right now, that we don't have a lot of publications in Russian language because of there is a contradiction between the way how we used to see the ABA articles and how scientific articles are should be written based on the our educational system, and it's not so easy, and there is many things involved here, because we don't have an academic ABA. We don't have PhDs in ABA. We don't have like a master degree in ABA, or we don't have like the whole academic
Right.
well, the whole academic system for ABA education. And because it seems to be that it happens because ABA is not yet specified as a separate field, or maybe a part of the special education field, or maybe a part of the pedagogical education, or maybe that's psychological education or something else. So, but I believe that it would happen one day when the solution will be found.
Is that something you're working towards? Have you been speaking to people in universities and that sort of thing?
One of the first trials were when the master degree in about ASD was developed, but it seemed that AB wasn't really a part of this master degree, just like support in common. I hope that we would have more interest from the universities and from maybe colleges to have our experience and our knowledge to integrate into their programs.
And what about sort of just autism in general? What's sort of the level of awareness and acceptance of autism like in Russia today? And what was it like when you first started in the field? And how has it improved or changed?
I think that when I first started in the field, I didn't know anything about autism. And I didn't have anyone in my circle who have kids with autism, or maybe know someone. And also, I think it's, of course, our tolerance to something that doesn't fit a common view or a common way to behave. I'm not saying that people are aggressive towards kids with autism. It happens, but it's not this system thing. I think it happens everywhere. But what I see that culturally, we have very high expectations to our kids. We want them to be first in everything, and it I think it involves how no, not involves it. It puts a very big impact on how families want to treat their children, how they want them to be taught. And for example, that's a 3-year-old child, and they're asking how what he will do at school. That's a 3-year-old. We need to think about his zones of proximal development. We should think about his particular age-specific development, not only about his autism. We have to think about the main action, probably, the activity theory developed by Leontiev, and the zones of proximal development by Vygotsky. And we're what makes me sad that we forget about that, and we only focus on VB-MAP milestones. We're focusing on coloring these little squares, thinking that this would help this little man to go to school. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have to overcome, and that's why we in our community we are trying to speak a lot about that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is that something that's sort of central to kind of Russian education incorporating things like the zones?
Yes, we're learning it. And here, everybody knows about that. But it seems that as soon as the person starts to learn ABA, they forgot everything and we want to integrate ABA as the only one thing that happens. And in my personal experience, I really put a lot of attention of my colleagues who I'm supervising to put themselves in their client's shoes. Like, try to imagine if you were asked the same question again and again, and for example, somebody would tell you, sit still, hands quiet. How would you feel? For example, you're 3 years old. You want to play. So play and try to integrate your ABA stuff into his leading activity. And sometimes it's very interesting when colleague is coming with a program or plan when we want their 4-year-old to be independent in the bathroom, like brushing teeth, taking a bath. And I'm saying, for example, if it was your child, you want him to stay alone in the bathroom? I think like, oh my God, really? And okay. The only one thing you want him is to accept your attempts to wash him or brush his teeth, and this is it, and tolerate this your intentions. And I think that another important thing that we really need to speak a lot, that not every behavior that we don't like is not a problem behavior. It's not something that we have to fight. And I think we need to be very, very compassionate right now. And it helps us, I believe.
What about you talk a lot about early intervention. What services are available, and kind of what happens to autistic kids when they become adults in Russia?
And 1 second, I think we need to go back to the diagnosis, and we can. I would answer this question, and then I think I forgot to open up the diagnostic system in our country. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of good services for young adults and adults. Mostly they stay at home when the school is done. We have some good initiatives when we have some training apartments for young adults, or training some trainings to get very simple professions, or maybe we have some initiatives when young people are taught to be barista or work in some cafeteria or something. I think this field is have a good development right now. Sometimes it's not easy, but I believe that we would have a good places for them to be, because unfortunately, yes, most of them are staying at home.
When you look at ABA in Russia today, what feels really strong, and where are the growing pains?
I think that what is strong is our willingness and our probably acceptance for new knowledge. For example, I have a statistics from FTF that almost 2,000 people joined the course in Russian language. Of course, it's for free, but I mean that the statistic is huge. We really, and if it were $50 or $30, we would pay. And it's just the sanctions that doesn't let us do so. I think that's our superpower, that we are looking for new information, new knowledge. We really like to learn something new. And I think that's the thing that needs more development and more attention is the diagnostic system, and the system that would give a parent a very clear pathway, what they can do right now at this moment for this age, and so on. And I think this is how we have to integrate ourselves into the medical system. But I should note that we have some problems in psychiatry. There is an old school and quite modern, much more modern, evidence-based school, and I hope that this also would find some solution, because when parents go to this doctor and then to that doctor and they say totally different things, it brings parents to some alternative system when they're being suggested to have some medical pill, and everything will be fine.
Yeah. And so is the local board, local organization trying to do some of that advocacy work?
What we can do, we can help to share information, and we can help to find a better solution for me as a, for example, private consultant. I can suggest particular places to go or something, but that's a drop of water in the sea, of course. But I believe that when we like in our educational project, what we did last year, actually, we called few psychiatrists, neurologists to speak about their practice and their the challenges that they have. And I think that's a place where AB specialists, special educational specialists, medical specialists, and the parents can unite and speak on some common language that and I hope that, and know about each other, because some parents are lost and they just don't know where to go.
Yeah. Are behavior analysts in Russia doing work outside of autism services yet?
Do you mean like working with elderly people,
Yeah,
something
maybe
like that, or
elderly, OBM, healthcare,
Mhm.
those sorts of things. Yeah.
Not really. I know about one experience of my student who joined our VCS, and he works in the rehab for people with strong addictions, and he is integrating ABA into their practice. Yes, and unfortunately, I heard about the OBM programs. They're when I'm trying to make a research, who is providing these courses, I can't find any information. So probably they have some knowledge, but what I work in my personal life, but I'm working close with, I as a mother of a dog, I do I do a lot of dog training. I integrate like modern dog training technologies, and so that's a joke. But unfortunately, not yet. But I believe when it's very sad, because like Pavlov, he is our heritage, and
Right.
we don't have a strong academic behavioral background.
Yeah, that is interesting that there is sort of that Russian origin to
Mm-hmm.
sort of learning and whatnot. Is Pavlov, recognized or honored in any way in Russia, or
Yes, it is strongly recognized. I think everybody knows about his findings.
but yet behaviorism never sort of picked up from that and
Mm-mm. No,
mm,
no.
interesting. You mentioned having a dog. You're also a parent of a 4-year-old. How has that influenced how you approach your work?
I think I become much more compassionate, because when I see when a young child is treated in a way that I am not supporting, I feel myself very uncomfortable, and I'm trying to deliver my opinion to colleagues. I'm trying to imagine how would I feel as a parent if my own child would be treated this way or other way. And for example, when I see some amazing work, I would say, yeah, that's this is the people who I really trust to work with my own child. She doesn't have autism, but I'm looking at the at our clients and students based on uh, on her development and her problems that she faced as a 2-year-old, 3 and 4, and this is what I'm trying to explain to people. This is just a child, first of all, not a child with ASD. This is a child with their feelings, their wills, and some bad maybe some thoughts at the moment, and mm, and you have to be very flexible to be a good teacher and a good friend to this child.
What gives you hope when you think about the future of behavior analysis in Russia?
Oh, I see a lot of examples. When specialists and colleagues are accepting that, yes, this is where I was wrong. And right now I want to change my practice. I want to change my practice to be more more passionate, more compassionate, to be trauma assumed. And I see many people who are trying to investigate how they can find the best practices to help their children, clients, and that gives me a lot of hope. And I think that's a great impact that our community that we create in our social media with Natalia Polikarpova. I think that has a great impact on it. And we are trying to teach people how to be kind to their colleagues as well as to their clients as a family, and probably that helps.
If there was one thing you wished behavior analysts around the world understood better about ABA in Russia, what would that be?
We are very kind and open-minded, and there are plenty of things that we can share with our colleagues around the world. I think I believe that that's a time when not only we have to import things from the outside. I think we can export our expertise and our in our experience with other people, and thankfully to FTF, to their international leadership program, when we can meet with colleagues from Europe, South America, United States, Asia, and we can share our experience, which is very great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Natalia, it's really cool to learn about ABA in Russia and all the good work you're doing. Thanks for coming on Behaviour Speak.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Behaviour Speak with Natalia Polikarpova. If you enjoyed today's conversation about the growth of behavior analysis in Russia, be sure to check out some of our previous episodes exploring the development of ABA across Eastern Europe and Central Asia. You can listen to episode 184, Behavior Analysis in the Ukraine with Alla Maskalets, episode 191, Behavior Analysis in Belarus with Hanna Kalnuskaya, episode 229, Behavior Analysis in Kyrgyzstan with Dr. Anastasia Un, and episode 251, Behavior Analysis in Georgia with Madonna Boni. Together, these conversations provide a fascinating look at how behavior analysis is evolving in different countries, the challenges practitioners face, and the innovative ways professionals are adapting to meet local needs. You can find those episodes, this episode, and our full archive at behaviorspeak.com. As always, if you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the episode with friends and colleagues. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.